You've made a couple of interesting points, and I want to take them back to Ambassador Sikri. One is that India will be pragmatic. The Foreign Secretary has initiated that process, Ambassador Sikri, and that is, of course, true. You've already said that you're not a great believer of putting eggs in one basket. Uh, I'm more intrigued by the third possibility. Is there a possibility that Hasina will be told politely, softly, gently to go elsewhere? Or do you think that India will stand with Sheikh Hasina for as long as it takes, as long as needed?
Well, let me say one thing, that I do not think Indian foreign policy will ever act under pressure. So if this business of sending a note verbal every 48 hours to India
Yeah,
is meaning to put pressure on India, and under threat of an anti-India feeling in Bangladesh increasing, I do not think India is going to give in to this kind of
yeah,
pressure. And I may say, right and fair and foremost, that yes, India's policy is very pragmatic. We do deal with elected governments, and that is why we told the Bangladesh government when the regime change took place on the 8th of August that we are prepared to deal with you. But we do know that despite the fact that the Yunus administration made no effort whatsoever to show any interest in developing relations with India, there will be no visit from their side at all, either by Muhammad Yunus or by the Foreign Affairs Advisor or by anybody else at all. A meeting on the sideline of the UNGA one doesn't count at all. Still, our Foreign Secretary went there. A very important
mm,
display of pragmatism and a positive approach, and we are prepared to understand you and we are prepared to deal with you. But we have to see the three words he used after the conversation. He said, my
mm.
discussions were frank, candid, and constructive. I think he was very clear on what he was saying, and there have been reports afterwards in the media saying that we have said very clearly to the Yunus government that we are going to deal only with an elected government. How does this
Hmm.
government call itself a representative of the people? How? Why are you saying that Age Bhalu Chilo is wrong? Are these students you're showing on the screen? Who are they? Are they representing anybody at all? It's just the Jamaat Islami and the Shivir who is there. You cannot expect that, an illegal imposed administration or regime is now going to be treated as a legal government of the country. I think you should notice that Jake Sullivan, when he called Muhammad Yunus a couple of days ago, the three words he used for the administration that they want in Bangladesh, he said, we want stability, prosperity, and democracy. Neither of these three conditions exist in Bangladesh today. There is no stability, there is no law and order. The army has been given police powers and magistracy powers.
Mm.
Still, there is no control. Policemen have been killed in the scores, and there is no accountability for that. Police thanas have been burnt and weapons have been looted in the thousands, tens of thousands. There is no accountability for that. How do you call this a regime? And there is no prosperity? The economy is going downhill. Under 15 years of cooperation, we have 6 to 8% growth in Bangladesh, mutually beneficial. Now it's the other way around. Democracy, is this democracy? And the regime is saying that we
But
want.
let me be contrarian here. I hear you, I agree with you, but let me be contrarian here. Is it our job or is it in our interest to worry about Bangladesh's internal democracy? I understand taking a position on the rights of minorities. I understand guarding our strategic interests, but we have re-engaged, for instance, with the Taliban in Afghanistan. We have done it. Eventually, we are slowly engaging with the Taliban-led regime in Afghanistan. Some might say it's not our problem whether Bangladesh is a democracy or not.
Look, it's very clear. We did say on the very first day, I've said it last time and I'm saying it now again, on the 8th of August, this is exactly what we said to the government of Bangladesh, the regime change, the new regime in place, and said, yes, we are prepared to deal with you. We want to continue the good relations we have with the people of Bangladesh. It is a people to people bond after all. Now, do you think that when the people are showing so much distress in Bangladesh, do you think this is a regime that they want? And what will the people of Bangladesh say to India if we say, oh, this regime is doing fine and everything is great in Bangladesh? And that none of all this stuff that you're showing on the screen is true. We think you're doing great
Yeah.
and we're going to deal with the government. So, Barkha, we have had a very strong people to people led relationship. Now, the people of Bangladesh, I know they are being turned against India. There's an anti India, absolutely voracious campaign of every kind, but still we
Yeah.
are wanting to keep up with the interests of the people of Bangladesh, and I do not think this is it. I mean, there are other parties. Everybody is telling Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh. I'm not talking of outsiders. I'm not talking of Jake Sullivan now. The political parties of Bangladesh are saying this to Muhammad Yunus. Elections first. The reforms are to be done only by an elected government. This is business of a handful of people, some Jamaati Islami leaders, some Hizb ut-Tahrir leaders, all the Islamist organizations you can imagine. Hifazat Islam, Islami Andolan Bangladesh. Oh, we want constitutional reforms first. Scrap this constitution, scrap Mujibur Rahman, scrap everything. We want something else. We don't want secularism. Forget about the minorities. They're not our responsibility. I mean, do you think we can just accept anything like this? And you think the people of Bangladesh? No, everybody, all the political parties, BNP saying elections first. Tariq Rahman sitting in London, elections as soon as possible. Now, after, then look at the minorities itself. For months, there was criticism in the Bangladesh media by the best paper saying, the Indian media is doing all this propaganda about attacks on minorities. Nothing is happening. It's all peaceful. It's calm. Come and see. Come and see. The day after Vikram Mishri visit, the government suddenly they discovered, there have been 88 cases, and 70 have been arrested so far. And just look at that. Do you call this realistic? I think, Barkha, even when you spoke about Taliban and Afghanistan, of course, we are prepared to deal with them. We're talking to them. Humanitarian aid is going to them. But look at their response. It's a sensible response from their side, and they are, we are putting pressure on them. We are very all concerned about the treatment of women in Afghanistan, the role that they have, but we are putting pressure on them, and hopefully, we do hope there will be a change. But in Bangladesh, it's complete mayhem. And look at this, Barkha. Bangladesh is a neighbor with whom we have the longest possible border, more than 4,000 kilometers of border. And the chances of a spillover of any kind of attacks on minorities, attacks on Buddhists, attacks on Christians, weak economy, people not getting jobs, people are rushing over into our side. Look at the law and order impact on India. How can we just sit back and do nothing? I think this is
and I think the last point is a critically important point, General Hassan, that the border, it is critical. But equally, you said that Pakistan had never detached itself from Bangladesh. Pakistan, maybe Bangladesh remains the deep injury, the unhealed wound, when it comes to the very creation of Bangladesh. But history can't be revised to this degree, right? And I think Dr. Mubashir says this is the balancing act. Bangladesh is being practical. India should also be practical. Now, Hasina made a speech, her first public speech. It was virtual, but it was while she was in India. And she accused the Yunus government of genocide, right? Now, Bangladesh will turn around, I guess, and say, look, India is allowing her to attack our government from Indian soil. To which Ambassador Sikri will say, how is this your government? How is this a representative government? What is our balancing act? If Bangladesh is balancing by kind of giving, one hand out in polite friendship to India, but also simultaneously saying, hand us Hasina with the other hand, but hugging Shehbaz Sharif in Cairo, how should India respond?
Exactly. That's a load full of questions, Barkha, no doubt.
But
let me start by saying I'm reminded of the very famous place, the Kaman Aman Setu at the line of control between India and Pakistan, where when we were opening the Muzaffarabad road, there was a huge hoarding which was put up by Pakistan. The border hoarding just said, it was a message coming out to all people coming from Kashmir and visiting Muzaffarabad. The message said, Pakistan se rishta kya? La ilaha illallah. Which meant your relationship with Pakistan is what? It is all Islam. Nothing else. Is this the message that Pakistan is now giving to Bangladesh? That's the message. This is what we have to be concerned about, right? Because we know Pakistan is the bedrock of radicalism, of Islamism. Being recognized internationally by the international community, even by most of the Islamic countries. Out of the 57 countries of the OIC, most will pragmatically recognize that this is the core center from where most of the issues arise, right? Today, as we talk today, there are 2.6 million refugees sitting, IDPs sitting from the floods of the last 2 years in various camps. People who can be influenced overnight, right? No, this is the golden opportunity that Pakistan is seeking. The ISI is seeking. This is what they attempted to do in Kashmir way back in 1989, 90. This is what they're looking at now, to go back against India once again when an opportunity is presenting itself to them. So this is one angle that we have to be extremely careful about. And we have to play this out to Pakistan, to Bangladesh, and tell them very clearly, this is not the kind of interest, it's not in the interest of India-Bangladesh relations of the future. It's not that we fear anything from Bangladesh as such, but we do fear this aspect of the rise of this Islamism within Bangladesh, which can lead to the kind of ramifications which Ambassador Veena Sikri just spoke about, the spillover. 18 million Hindus in Bangladesh, a 4,000-kilometer border, and a region connected by a sliver of territory, which is the Siliguri corridor. I mean, we've got our security concerns, all of them. So my last point on this is, when we look at Muhammad Yunus, my perception of Muhammad Yunus was that, my God, here is a banker who should be a highly educated economist. And highly educated economists, I consider, would be people who would be secularists, who would be looking at, middle path kind of attitudes and ideologies. But here is a figure which is emerging like an ogre almost, supporting all this, what is happening, and acting as a mouthpiece of that entire thing which is happening inside Bangladesh. I wish we could find someone who could be, not really a counter to that, but Muhammad Yunus is there to stay for quite some time. There's no doubt about it. But hopefully he will not allow himself to become, the mouthpiece of Islamists from all over the world who are looking at India and trying to counter issues which are happening within India and within Bangladesh or places like that. So this is my major concern at the moment. This whole issue of the rising tide of ideological cooperation which may be happening between Pakistan and Bangladesh under the shadows, while we are hearing about arms consignments and ammunition, etc. Things like this may continue, but the more dangerous thing is the ideological part.
Yeah. Before I give Ambassador Sikri the last word, Dr. Hassan, what might, and I know you don't speak for the government, but as someone who has spent a lot of time just researching your own country on the ground, and you have some distance because you live outside of Bangladesh, what might happen next, according to you? Is Islamism, the rise of Islamism, a genuine concern? Is this cozying up that you call a balancing act between Pakistan and Bangladesh dangerous for Bangladesh society? Because, there was a time when the comparison between Bangladesh and Pakistan used to be precisely in those terms, that look, Bangladesh has managed to more or less fend off radicalism, do well on socio-economic indices. Look how much better it's done than Pakistan. And now General Hasnain is saying that Pakistan has an interest in pulling Bangladesh down into its own morass.
Thank you, Barkha. So just for the context of the audience, I wrote, my PhD is on Islam and politics in Bangladesh, and I wrote a book on Islam and politics in Bangladesh that is available in Palgrave Macmillan. So I do understand the terrains of religious politics and Islamism. So few points about that. One, there is no one Islamism in the country. There is a lot of diversity within this religious political terrain. Some tend to use democracy, some tend to reject democracy, and those sort of stuff. And I think there is some sort of way works in other countries where religion is a strong force. Second is, I do not think Yunus has, or any Bangladesh government should even think of aligning and forming an ideological alliance with Pakistan in line with religion. I don't think it will bring any good to Bangladesh. I don't think it will bring any good even to the region, and I don't think it will be a sustainable option to operate within a greatly connected world. Third point is, I think we need to be, at least from my perspective, we need to be a bit fairer on Yunus. I'm not defending him. I think what he has done is he himself is a big deterrence, acted as a big deterrence. So number one, because of him, army didn't take over. Number two, because of him, there was no internal fighting across various factions in the country. And finally, I do agree with Ambassador Vina Sikri that there should be an election sooner rather than later. As soon as there is a political authority takes over, things should be much more stable. That is my summarization. Thank you.
But do you agree with Ambassador Sikri and General Hasnain that India cannot yet treat the Yunus government as a representative government?
No, I disagree with them respectfully, and I think Indian government. I mean, if it was Indian government doesn't consider Bangladesh is a legitimate representative of the government, then why would the Foreign Secretary of India made a visit to Bangladesh? Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Why did the Foreign Secretary visit if it's not a representative government? Ambassador Sikri, General Hasnain, before you come in with last comments, we did ask our viewers, do you believe the Modi government should ask Sheikh Hasina to go away, go back to Bangladesh, go to another country? And should India extradite Sheikh Hasina? 79% of our viewers say no. No, no question of extradition. So I think that that's a telling poll. That's an overwhelming majority of Indians do not believe that Bangladesh is urging India to extradite Hasina is something that should be heeded. So I just thought that that was an important data point. But to Dr. Hassan's question, why did Vikram Misri go if we don't recognize Yunus, the Yunus regime as representative? What would you say in the end?
Barkha?
Could we unmute? Yeah, ma'am, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the first. Oh no, please. I think General Atta Hasnain is speaking.
Sorry, General
Let me
Hasnain?
come in first. Yeah,
Yeah,
let me come in
yeah.
at this moment. Simply for the reason, I think there's no absolutism in this. There's no question of us saying, okay, Bangladesh government is persona non grata with us. We are working to a solution. We are looking at a potential solution and improvement of relationship, etc. We need not necessarily, in our understanding, in our perception, we don't consider this to be a democratically elected government. It's not a democratically elected government. But at the same time, we consider it, legally constituted enough with whom we can do business in terms of improving our relationship as such. But in the overall scheme of things, we would like a democratically elected government in Bangladesh.
Okay. Let me give the last word to Ambassador Sikri now. Go ahead, ma'am. What next?
Yeah, well,
Should-
let me talk about the first point about Vikram Rishi's visit. We have
Yes.
always said we will deal with the government of the day. And let us say, even though this government is sworn in on a constitution which doesn't have a provision for interim government, even so, when there was a provision, all that this caretaker government is supposed to do is 90 days, maintain law and order, and hold free and fair and inclusive elections. Now, if this government had gone down that road and said, all right, we are here, whatever improperly, properly, whatever it may be, we are going to have elections within 90 days. But exact opposite has happened. They are delaying it. They were talking in the beginning of 5-6 years. And now under pressure from the world community and from within their own country, within the people of Bangladesh, we have the BNP and so many other parties talking about free, fair and inclusive elections. And in fact, this regime in Bangladesh even tried to depose the president. Again, by democracy, by surrounding him and trying to get him to go. But nobody came out. The kind of students that we saw on the 5th of August, they were no longer there. There's no support for this government. And in the end, the BNP itself said, no, please don't. The president is our only constitutional link. And if we don't have a president, there will be complete constitutional crisis in Bangladesh. So the people of Bangladesh are saying this. We have to respect what the people of Bangladesh are saying. So I think I agree that early elections are the only answer. But I do not agree with Dr. Mubashir Hussain when he thinks that there is no Islamism in Bangladesh. I think you should know that the Shias and the Ahmadiyas have been equally strongly under attack. Every dargah, every Sufi shrine is under attack. It's being burnt. So there is absolutely no doubt that moderate Islam is under severe attack in Bangladesh. We have a
Yeah.
situation there where the advisor to the government of Bangladesh, one of the people who's been sworn in, has putting out
Yeah.
tweets talking about civil war, putting out tweets talking about a khilafat, about having a caliphate in Bangladesh. We know all this. So if that is not a cause to worry, then I fully agree with what General Atta Hussain has said. That is a matter of major security concern and worry for us when Pakistan is only recognizing Bangladesh on their terms, which is as a religious ideological friend and nothing else. And so they
Yeah.
want this Prince movement on India that they always were planning. I know it existed. You're right that your General Atta Hassan is absolutely right that Pakistan never left Bangladesh. When I was High Commissioner there, and there was a BNP government, this is what was happening. Every terrorist attack in India in those years had a Bangladeshi footprint. The people would come from Pakistan, land in Dhaka, and then walk into India and do what they had to do or what they had come to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
this is absolutely a very serious situation. We have to recognize that this is an existential crisis for Bangladesh. I think the people of Bangladesh are terming it as an existential crisis for themselves. I don't think they want a religious caliphate as their government. They've never wanted it. They have always struggled against it. The values of the liberation war of 1971, which included democracy, there is no sign of democracy right now, which included, secularism, there's no sign of secularism right now.
Ambassador Secretary Dr. Hassan wants to clarify. He just posted a message in the chat. I did not say there's no Islamism in Bangladesh. I said there's no one kind of Islamism. There
No,
are
but
multiple strains
I
of
agree.
Islamism.
I noted that. I noted that what he said, but I'm saying that the moderate forms of Islamism are under threat. And there's only the
Right.
multifarious, absolutely radical fundamentalist form of Islamism that have got the upper hand. I agree there is no agreement among them. I agree that Jamaat-e-Islami may not agree with Islami Andolan Bangladesh. I know about all those internecine
Yeah.
quarrels. But basically, it's only the radical groups fighting among each other, which is very dangerous. And the chances of all these illegal Bangladeshi immigrants in India and them being used, and the sleeper cell, you do know that recently 8 or 9 terrorists were caught in Kerala. They'd been in Bengal, they'd been in Assam, and then they were caught in
Yeah.
Kerala. And among them was a Bangladeshi, and he said, "I have come to awaken the sleeper cells." And to create chaos in India. So we do know this is already happening, Barkha, and I fully agree. I share the sensibilities of your panel, which have said that 80% are saying that Sheikh Hasina should not be extradited because all they want is for her to go back. They'll put her in jail and do terrible things to her, and then ban the Awami League. And the Awami League has
Yeah.
a 40%, 50% vote share. Jatiyo Party. Muhammad Yunus held a national unity meeting in Bangladesh a week or 10 days ago. He didn't invite the
Yeah.
Awami League. He didn't invite the Jatiyo Party. So he's doing exactly what he's accusing Sheikh Hasina of having done. Enforced disappearances, journalists in jail, press accreditation cancelled, media being totally gagged. Nobody knows what is going on in the country, and telling the West as though everything is okay. It's not okay. I mean, I don't think that The Economist, by naming the Bangladesh as the country of the year, has dented its own credibility so much that I think it's going to take them 10 years to recover from it. We already were in great doubt about the credibility of The Economist, depending on what they're writing. But to have them come up with this conclusion, I mean, this really is OTT. I mean, it's really amazing.
Okay.